Have you ever heard of the Dram Shop Act? If not, what the Dram Shop Act basically says is a permit holder, of who sells alcohol, if they sell alcohol to someone who's noticeably intoxicated, and then that noticeably intoxicated person later then goes on and hits somebody or causes some other kind of injury to somebody else, that somebody else can then go ahead and sue the permit holder, whether that's a nightclub, a bar, whatever. If they're selling alcohol and they sell it to somebody who's noticeably intoxicated and that person ends up, getting an MVA, motor vehicle accident, with somebody else, then they might be liable for that. And why is that relevant? Well, we have a situation where we have a dancer at it's the Living Room Strip Club. Mary Montgomery was leaving her job, and she got in a car accident while she was intoxicated. It was later determined that she had consumed alcohol and used cocaine, I guess, whilst she was working throughout the day at this Living Room Strip Club, which was owned by 3830. So the person who was hit, who's Miss Montgomery, or not Miss Montgomery, but the person who's hit was named Nicole Johnson, who was a passenger in a vehicle. So she instituted a case against Mary Montgomery, and then 3830, and then I guess the club owner, who was Michael Ferraro. And she had sued under both the Dram Shop Act and under a basic negligence lawsuit against 3830. So there was a default judgment against Miss Montgomery, the dancer, and because she didn't defend herself, and why would, she probably didn't have any assets to begin with, to be perfectly frank. And so the big fish was this 3830. So there was a negligence lawsuit against 3830 was allowed to proceed to the jury. The jury awarded nearly $3 million. And as to the Dram Shop Act lawsuit, so there's two theories she was pursuing. The Dram Shop Act claim, they gave a directed verdict against that. They threw it out. So the 3830 filed an appeal, and then the appeals court found that the Dram Shop Act applied. So the common law negligence lawsuit couldn't be used. So then what that ended up doing is that threw out, because the common law negligence wasn't in play, the nearly $3 million verdict was thrown out the door, which, kind of sucks for Miss Johnson. But, and then the court found that the Dram Shop Act, so I'm assuming Miss Johnson appealed to the Ohio Supreme Court because she wants the negligence thing to apply and not the Dram Shop Act, I'm assuming, right? And then the Supreme Court found that the Dram Shop Act did apply, and since the Dram Shop Act applied, it's like the exclusive remedy. You can, if that applies, then you could only go for the Dram Shop Act. And there was no way to go out, pursue a negligence case outside of the Dram Shop Act. And because of that, again, the $2.85 million judgment was thrown out. And really, so that kind of sucks for Miss Johnson, but this case, as far as when things go to the Ohio Supreme Court, it's less about the legal remedy for the person. The Ohio Supreme Court is kind of, when they get involved with things, it's because they're trying to interpret case law or how to, deal with when there's something in opposition. When, hey, if you have the Dram Shop Act, and you have a negligence, how does that work? And so there's some legal controversy issues. So they're trying to figure that out. And so that's basically the position that they came with. So, and then the other issue was would the Dram Shop Act apply to an employee of the permit holder, the person, the entity who the Dram Shop Act is being used against? Like, could the Dram Shop, could the bar or nightclub or whatever, could they sell alcohol to their own employee and would that, their own employee, is that what's contemplated under the Dram Shop Act, or does it just apply to like customers and whatnot? And so what they determined is the Dram Shop Act does include workers, independent contractors, and others served by the permit holder, not just patrons. So that's kind of the bigger takeaway from this. And therefore, any claim for off-premises injuries caused by an intoxicated person must proceed under the Dram Shop Act and not under the common law negligence in this situation. So, yeah. So that's kind of a bad outcome for Ms. Johnson. And what's kind of interesting for me is like, with this Mary Montgomery, you're like, well, does she have some kind of remedy? Well, not really. She's the tortfeasor, but you know, if she's a dancer at this nightclub, and what if drinking is kind of one of these things that's condoned, you know, encouraged, whatever? Would she have a remedy? Would that be in the course of and arising out of? I don't know. They don't really talk about that in this case, so it's not addressed. I'm thinking probably not, because you know, it's one of those things that, one, the going and coming rule applies, and then two, you know, there's the statute that there's the strict limits on, you could have this or that much amount of alcohol or this or that much levels of various narcotics before the statute basically presumptively applies, and it's not a workers' comp claim, and you have to prove that your intoxication had no part of your injury. So clearly, if you're drinking and driving, you know, and she was found to be intoxicated, that caused her accidents. But no, that's kind of a bad outcome, because if it's a $2.85 million personal injury verdict, that kind of implies that this Miss Johnson got seriously injured. But yeah, that's the Dram Shop Act. So that it can apply to intoxicated worker, not just permit holders. So anyways, this is Attorney Kip from Malek. Usually I'm talking about workers' comp cases. Occasionally I'll delve into personal injury situations. We do run into people who were dealing with the Dram Shop Act at Malek. That's not really my area of specialty. That's more of our PI team. Jim Malek, Ed Malek, Garrett Blackburn, and Jeff Klusner. They deal with those cases, you know, motor vehicle accidents, dog bites, you know, things where people are hit by drunk drivers, stuff like that. So if you have a personal injury case, though, as I recommend with the workers' comp situations, I also recommend with personal injury situations that you should absolutely 100% get an attorney involved. And by all means, reach out to us if you have a PI, personal injury type situation. We'll certainly talk to you about it. And then, you know, maybe we'll either sign you up, and if we don't sign you up, we'll explain why, or at the very least we'll say, hey, perhaps you could talk to this and that attorney, maybe they'd be involved with it. So nevertheless, this has been Attorney Kip from Malek. Please stay safe out there, folks, and thanks for watching this video.